Chapter 105 within 3 days. I'll buy that commercial building. Lee Zuer sat on the sofa, glanced at the bullet comments, then turned to face the drone. Hi everyone. How have you all been lately? As soon as they heard Zuer interacting with them, the viewers went wild. Zuer, we're great, couldn't be better. We'll always support you, Zuer. Love you, only love you. Zuer continued. This newly released game seems really good. I watched the platform's live streams last night, and it was really fun. I measure. A lot of you are interested to write? Nosebleed emoji. None of you are allowed to have dirty thoughts about my pure and innocent Zuer. Otherwise, I'll duel you to the death. I've already plucked 35 yuans in wool. Taken advantage of the promotion. In just a while. Zuer, I'll send you 3 votes later. No, 4. Lee Zuer glanced briefly at the comments, then smiled and said, actually, I'm interested in this game too. Before she could finish, the bullet comments exploded. Zuer, I'm your die-hard fan. Hurry when you download the game. Use my invitation code 386GFN39687. Damn it, don't fight me for this. My invitation code is 3867997NGAAF8765R. Lee Zuer was stunned. According to her plan, wasn't she supposed to invite them? Why had she only said 2 sentences? And now they were all inviting her. Oh, Zuer, you Ray still too experienced in the ways of the world. If it had been Wang Mantong from Stream 2, she would have first cried about how hard her life was, how tough her struggles were, how frail her mom was, and how filial she herself was. After building up that tragic atmosphere, she'd mention her great idea, and with just a few words, she'd get her fans to use her invitation code. Lee Zuer was dumbfounded. For 5 yuan. You Ray all asking me to use your activation codes. She let out a bitter laugh, locked her phone, and went back to reading. In the live stream, why isn't Aksharishantation? Zuer, hurry and use mine. We'll split the reward 60-40, you get 40%. To yuan, you fake fans. Zuer, use mine, I'll split it 40-60. You get 60%, I'll split it 10-90. Who dares to compete with me? Dong Jiangguo pushed open the door. Chairman, it's time for lunch. Among all the employees, old Dong was still the one who looked out for him the most. Chen Yuan closed the game and put his phone away. All right, let's go eat. He stood up as he spoke. Dong Jiangguo had already walked into the office and reached for the coat hanging on the rack. How's the staff arrangement going? Chen Yuan asked. Dong Jiangguo quickly replied. It's all sorted. The development team has also started working on the overseas version of Honor of Kings. Good. After putting on his coat, Dong Jiangguo added, we have enough people now, but I think our space is a bit small. He had a point. In just over 20 days, the team and departments had expanded rapidly. New employees join Ed every day. The original 8-story office building had to accommodate a cafeteria, a lounge floor, the development department, the design department, the live streaming platform team, and more. The 8 floors were getting increasingly cramped. If Chen Yuan wanted to launch another game, This building would be packed to bursting. That is a problem. Chen Yuan said. By the way, isn't there a commercial building next to our office tower? That place is nice, and it has plenty of parking. I'll go by it later. The adjacent building was a high-rise, roughly the size of 5 or 6 of their current office buildings. It had been built last year and was still in the leasing phase. Dongji and Guo Saddam Sapple bobbed. That, building land and construction included, would cost at least a billion yuan. Note, in the original context, refers to over a billion yuan. The figure reflects the scale of investment in commercial real estate in China. The company had only been established recently. Where would they get over a billion yuan? Dong Jiangguo hurried to keep up with Chen Yuan. Chairman, our company is doing well, but we haven't been around long. For that commercial building next door, I'm afraid we have the will, but not the money. Chen Yuan pressed the elevator button, then turned to look at Dong Jiangguo. A building that costs a billion or two. Isn't it just a matter of a few days? 5 days. No, 3 days. In 3 days, I'll go buy it. As he finished speaking, the elevator doors opened, and the two stepped inside. Dong Jiangguo was shocked. The company current lie had only around 700 to 800 million yuan in its accounts. To buy that commercial building, they would need at least 4 billion yuan. Subtract 800 million from 4 billion, and they were still 600 million short, even if they added the roughly 200 million yuan in revenue from life after and PUBG. They'd still be 400 million yuan short. 400 million yuan. In 3 days. Chen Yuan noticed Dong Jiangguo's expression. You don't believe me? Of course he didn't. Earning over 100 million yuan a day. That was unthinkable. But even if he didn't believe it, he couldn't say so out loud. I believe you, he said quickly. It's just a few 100 million yuan. Of course I believe you, Chairman. But his eyes clearly showed doubt. Chen Yuan curled his lips. It's fine if you don't believe me. Our official server goes live this afternoon. You'll see then. Dong Jiangguo hurried to say, I definitely believe you. If you say it, I believe it. The two walked out of the elevator and into the cafe. Teria. Employees greeted them one after another. This was a boss with a conscience. Easily the best boss any of them had ever had. Salaries were high. Benefits were good, and most importantly, they even got overtime pay. Could you believe that? A conscientious entrepreneur. The only downside was he was a bit young. Otherwise, they definitely introduce him to 30 or 50 girlfriends. As the number of employees grew, the cafeteria got more and more crowded. Temporary tables had even been set up to handle the rush. Chen Yuan was respected, and many employees offered to give up their seats, but he declined. The cafeteria manager trotted over and set up a new table. Leader, we ray a bit tight on space here. Please make do for now. Chen Yuan waved his hand. It's fine. No trouble. I'll buy that commercial building next door later, and we'll have plenty of space then. The manager nodded and retreated to the kitchen. Breaking news. The boss has decided to buy the Commercial building next door. A chef who was cooking looked skeptical. That tall building? It must cost a lot, at least tens of millions. Right? Can our boss really afford that? The manager gave him a disdainful look. No vision at all. They say Apperson horizons limit their thinking. And this was a perfect example. That big a building. For just tens of millions. Dream on. In my opinion, it'll cost at least hundreds of millions. You've got no sense of scale. The manager said, "This is inside info. Don't go spreading it around." It was just the cafeteria manager. Many people nearby had heard Chen Yuan's swords. Even though they respected him, they still thought their boss was bragging. Chapter 106. Shocking a terrifying 2-hour revenue. That commercial building next door was definite. Lie the top-tier structure in this area. Many companies were already preparing to move in. How could Eiffeld Gling Game Company like theirs just casually buy a place like that? True, the company had made a lot of money, but it was still far from enough. Most people brushed off Chen Yuan's words, but Dong Wanyi, who was carrying her lunch tray, took them seriously. She set her tray down on the table, and Dong Jiangguo quickly moved his chair to make space for her. "I just heard you say you were going to buy the building next door?" Chen Yuan put down his chopsticks. "Yeah, our office building is too cramped. I've decided to move to a bigger space." Dong Wanyi bit her red lips. That building isn't in the city center, but the land costs alone are definite lie over $1 billion. We're just a game company. Even if we really buy it, we won't use up all that space. Despite Miss Dong's broad vision and broad mind, she was still a bit short-sighted. Who said a game company could only do game-related business? He was here to do something big. He could not be confined to such any space. Chen Yuan smiled. "But for me it's still too small." Dong Wanyi couldn't help but frown, a faint look of annoyance on her face. "Can we talk without you glancing around like that when we mention size? My dad is right here watching." "Hey boys." Si Ming Lai noticing Dong Wanyi's irritation. Chen Yuan coughed. "Let's drop this. Eat. Dong Jiangguo also chimed in quickly. "Right, no work talk during meals. Let's eat." Chen Yuan picked out the chicken leg from his plate and gave it to Dong Wanyi. "You eating too? Little, the company needs you right now. You can't get tired. Here, have a chicken leg." Dong Jiangguo, sitting nearby, blinked. Such a young kid. Dong Wanyi looked at the chicken leg in front of her. "Thanks. I'm on a diet." "Diet? Where are you fat?" Chen Yuan continued. "I heard excessive dieting can make some originally big parts shrink. You have to be careful." Dong Wanyi's face suddenly flushed for no reason, and her beautiful eyes glared at Chen Yuan. Chen Yuan acted as if nothing had happened. "I'm talking about your eyes." He looked up and smiled. "What did you think I meant?" Dong Wanyi narrowed her eyes and smiled. "I also thought you meant my eyes." Dong Jiangguo, should I leave? Back in his office, Chen Yuan checked the time. It was already 12:30 p.m. according to the plan. Honor of Kings, playfully nicknamed Wengji Nong Yao, or King's Pesticide, by Chinese players for its addictive nature. would launch it to PM aeon and a half. Our nap was too much to ask, right? Chen Yuan went to the inner room, took off his coat, and lay down on the sofa. Immediately, the live stream switched to an advertisement, and today's ad was for Honor of Kings itself. The 2-minute ad showcased all sorts of magnificent heroes, with slogans highlighting the game's latest competitive features. 2 p.m. let the fierce battle begin. The fans in the live stream were stunned. Was this infiltration? They were even advertising in the reality show's live stream. Word on the street, if Yuan Shen Network ever got bold enough, would they buy the rights to the entire show? As for CCTV, that was probably out of the question, but it wasn't impossible. Yuan Shen is awesome. Voice cracking. Wow, this is the first game I've seen that advertises on TV, let alone in its own live stream. I, Citizen Lee C, have reason to suspect there's foul play here. Dude upstairs, are you still asleep? The whole thing is live. Where's the foul play? A mimicractifant. For days. Huh, I actually kind of miss him. Curse my overly kind heart. When Chen Yuan opened his eyes, it was already 1:40 p.m. From the outer office. He could hear Li Changjian yelling, "Chairman Chen! Chairman Chen!" Chen Yuan rubbed his face and walked out. "What are you halabavajiguangbubub?" Li Changjian chuckled. "It's 1:40 already. Aren't you coming with me to oversee this historic moment?" Chen Yuan put on his coat. "All right, let's go." The two walked out of the chairman's office side by side. The server room was on the 3rd floor, so they took the stairs down. "Chairman, you seem so relaxed every day," Li Changjian said. "No wonder he didn't have a girlfriend." Chen Yuan glanced at Li Changjian. "Relaxed? You haven't seen me when I'm tired. Playing games every day was exhausting. It's better for you guys. You just do one thing a day, and you don't even need to accompany a girlfriend." Li Changjian scratched his head, feeling like there was something off about that statement. The two soon reached the server room. Chen Yuan took out his phone to check the time. When the moment arrived, he slammed his hand down. For a new game launch, the boss naturally had to keep a close eye on his product. He logged into the game the second it went live. Username Yuanshan. After finishing the tutorial, Chen Yuan sat back in his office chair and skillfully climbed the ranks, crushing new players as he went. As the manager of the mobile game department, Dong Wanyi had been monitoring all data since 2 p.m. At first, she could stay calm, but after half an hour, her breathing grew rapid. The data was growing too fast, at rocket-like speed. It seemed many players had long been looking forward to this new style game. Plus, with Yuan Shen Network Shreno One's reputation, it was only natural that it attracted so much traffic. With solid promotion, reliable game technology, and an innovative gameplay model, it was impossible not to draw in users. The fastest growing metric was new registrations. In just 2 hours, registered accounts had exceeded 5 million, and the number was still soaring. Dong Wanyi could end it still any longer. She printed out the data and hurried to the chairman's office. "Chairman, Honor of Kings has 5.5 million registered users, and concurrent online users are steady at 3 million. These were definitely top-tier numbers, nothing short of miracle for a game that had only been live for 2 hours. Chen Yuan smiled faintly. We've only just started. Don Trush daytime traffic is low. The real show starts at night. You're absolutely right. By now, Dong Wanyi was completely convinced by Chen Yuan. If daytime numbers were already a milestone in gaming history, nighttime would be nothing short of a legend, and the creator of that legend was right in front of her. Dong Wanyi did her best to steady her breathing. Just then, there was a knock on the office door. "Come in," Chen Yuan said. The person who walked in was Li Baolai, the chief accountant. His face was beaming with smiles. He nodded at Dong Wanyi when he saw her, then turned to Chen Yuan and placed a provisional financial report on the table. "Chairman, in 2 hours, our revenue has reached 20 million yuans. Chapter 107. If not talking about work, then talking about love. Fifth update. 20 million yuan in 2 hours. Dong Wanyi suddenly felt dizzy. 20 million yuan in just 2 hours, and that was during the daytime. By night, it would probably hit 100 million yuans. This was a milestone. Another milestone in mobile gaming history. Now Dong Wanyi suddenly felt that turning this game into a national-level phenomenon was almost a given. She began to be grateful that her decision to switch jobs back then was so wise. Chen Yuan glanced at the financial report and tossed it casually onto the table. "Lao Li," his tone was calm, as if he didn't even care about this report showing 20 million yuan in revenue over 2 hours. This historic moment had nearly given Lao Li a heart attack, yet the chairman still looked so unperturbed. What was that trendy term again? Versailles, a way of showing off subtly by downplaying one's achievements. He was the ultimate Versailles master. That said, Li Baolai's admiration for Chen Yuan had reached new heights. If he hadn't watched the live stream and known Chen Yuan had a failing student dad, he would have thought Chen Yuan was the secret child of some tycoon. Dong Wanyi, standing nearby, also stared at Chen Yuan in a daze. Faced with such amazing results, he didn't even change his expression, as if this 2-hour new record meant nothing to him. This was true demeanor. Perhaps for someone like him, no amount of money was more than just a number. Had she been too fixated on material things? "Chairman, you truly have extraordinary poise, remaining humble even in the face of such success." Li Baolai's flattery skills were several levels below Dong Jianguo's. Chen Yuan could handle Dong Jianguo's flattery magic with ease, let alone Lao Li's amateur attempts. Chen Yuan waved his hand, still calm. "All right, take the report and go. Bring me the 12-hour financial report tomorrow morning." "Got it." Li Baolai bowed slightly and retreated from the office, glancing at Dong Wanyi as he left. At this point, Dong Wanyi was still in a semi-dazed state. "Miss Dong, aren't you busy over there?" Dong Wanyi snapped back to reality. "The game is now officially running, so things have eased up a bit on my end. I've wrapped up most of my work. And besides, I trust Sun Yuhan to handle things there. Sun Yuhan Chen Yuan had a vague impression of her. She was indeed capable, with strong work skills, all right. You've been swamped these past few days. Why not take the afternoon off? Dong Wanyi quickly replied, no need for time off. But since I have nothing to do this afternoon, I was hoping to learn from you. Chen Yuan frowned. Learn what? He was a decent person, and besides, the live stream was still on. He pointed to the chair across from him. Let's skip the learning part. Sit over there, ask whatever you want. Dong Wanyi didn't catch the double meaning in his words. She crossed her legs and sat down. Chairman, are you really only 14 years old? Chen Yuan replied, 42 in nominal age, where a baby is 1 year old at birth, 14 in actual age. Dong Wanyi froze for 2 seconds, then smiled, showing her teeth. You so funny. Who adds 28 years to their nominal age? Chen Yuan shrugged and said nothing. The chat was going fairly smoothly when Dong Jiangguo pushed open the door. Instantly, he was caught in an awkward dilemma. Should he go in or back out? Chen Yuan waved him over. What's up? Dong Jiangguo pretended not to see his daughter, walked over to the desk and said, many game companies, government departments, and banks have been calling me, trying to get information out of me. Chairman, you know I'm a man who can keep a secret. Chen Yuan said nothing. Dong Wanyi, probably unable to stand her father's boasting, stood up, smoothed out her skirt, and said, I'll evade you toodle, I'm going out. Chen Yuan scratched his head. Dong Jiangguo glanced at his daughter, retreating back, and asked what were you two talking about? Chen Yuan replied, talking about work and development. Why? Did you think we were talking about love? Dong Jiangguo forced an awkward smile. Chairman, you have such a sense of humor. You always joking. Chen Yuan waved his hand. All right. You handle those people. No need to check with me. But you need to know what to say and what not to say. Chen Yuan knew Dong Jiangguo was reliable, but he still needed to remind him, just in case he got too complacent. Dong Jiangguo nodded quickly. I know how to deal with them. Chen Yuan nodded. Checked the time, it was already 5:30 p.m. Dong Lai would probably be heading home soon. All right. You guys keep busy. I'm leaving. Dong Jiangguo watched Chen Yuan's carefree retreating figure, filled with admiration. If anyone else knew their company's scheme was a hit, they'd probably live and eat at the office, even waking up laughing from dreams. But Chairman Chen remained calm, even leaving work on time without a moment's hesitation. With that thought, he also walked out. After closing the office door, he waved and said goodbye. Chairman, take care. Chen Yuan waved without looking back. Downstairs, Luo Shang was chatting animatedly with his former colleagues. Being Chen Yuan's driver was incredibly easy, just 2 trips a day, with rarely any business dinners. The 2 security guards nearby were green with envy. When Luo Shang saw Chen Yuan coming out, he hurried over. Leader, Chen Yuan grunted. Let's go off work. Got it. Luo Shang ran to open the rear car door. On the way back, stop at the deli. I want to buy some pig brains. Dong Lai's grades had never improved, and Chen Yuan was naturally worried. He didn't care about the bonuses, but he cared deeply about Dong Lai's future. Knowledge learned was something that stayed with you forever. He didn't have time to help Dong Lai make progress day by day, so the only thing he could do was try to help him with food supplements, a traditional Chinese belief that eating certain foods can nourish corresponding body parts here. Pig brains are thought to boost intelligence. His hope for his dad to succeed was no empty phrase. Luo Shang agreed. A Rolls-Royce Cullinan pulled up in front of the deli, immediately attracting passers-by's attention. Some women stared eagerly, curious to see who would step out of such a luxury car. When they saw Luo Shang, the women looked slightly disappointed. He was anemic to look at, but he had a strong build. Maybe he was passable. Then Luo Shang ran to open the rear door. By now, the passers-by realized he was just a driver. Chen Yuan got out. The onlookers were shocked. It was a teenager, a rich second-generation kid. Among the crowd were some who had watched the Life Swap Challenge reality show. It's him, Chen Yuan. Many people looked confused. Chen Yuan? Was he someone important? Do you see that drone behind him? He's a contestant on that reality show. In just over 20 days, he built an empire from scratch and became a billionaire. He's not Eric's second gen. He's a self-made first-gen millionaire. The passers-by erupted in amazement. Was there really such a show? They daved to watch it when they got home. If it weren't for the live stream, those women would have probably swarmed over to ask for his contact info. Chen Yuan walked into the deli without Akari. Boss, 1 serving of pig brains. The biggest one you have.